Welcome out, ladies and gentlemen, to this RGL.GG Week 4 matchup of Velocity Esports versus Ascent. And what should be an interesting one, as we are going to be out on Koth Ashville. Always a fast-paced, a lot of damage that's going to be put out between both these teams. And a lot of gives I think we're going to be seeing flying across this middle point. I am sigafoo, joined out here with Nicel behind the camera, and eXtine to my side. How you doing out here, eXtine?
Yeah, doing fantastic, man. Excited to be here casting with you. Excited to be witness to some RGL 7v7 Prolander awesomeness. Always a good time with all the class switching and just a very fun representation of TF2, as well as, you know, some of the newer items and newer balance in effect. You know, we're really going to see TF2 at its full potential here, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be, I don't know if any other leagues are currently allowing the new weapons to be used, but we are. All weapons are available except for the Machina. So the Machina was the only weapon that was part of the default ban list, which wasn't changed by Valve. So we left it in there for the time being. But as we are going to get these pick bans started up here pretty shortly, I've been told they are going live right now with their pick and bans for this map.
See it. Excellent. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. You know, I was tempted away this afternoon with a little bit of Dota's new patch. They like to shuffle the cards quite a bit, and it's very interesting to see where everything lines up. And it's going to be the same here in Prolander with the updates and the new weapons that have dropped for TF2. I'm definitely excited, curiously excited about potentially jetpack pyros flying around. If we'll have fireball rocket launchers going off. What exactly Ashville and the Pyro Jungle Inferno update might bring us.
Yeah, I think we will see more pilots, but right now, off of the first 3 bans, you can see Ascent first banning the Soda Popper, which is really interesting. It's not a weapon that we've seen a lot of in recent memory, but maybe they just know something about Velocity Esports that they have a player that likes to run it. Also taking down Natasha as well, so trying to take down scouts in a couple of different, I guess, take down a scout's weapon and then stop Natasha, which will, you know, help with slowing scouts down.
Yeah, and then on Velocity's side, we see a lot of engineer-focused bans so far, which the engineer is very strong on this map. The gunslinger can be super obnoxious. Short circuit overall, just very obnoxious, something that a lot of players don't like playing against, and a effective engineer can really do a lot to stifle spam that teams know how to work around right now, and that's what, you know, these bans kind of help protect your play style. The Wrangler as well can really lock you down, and Velocity obviously not wanting to have to deal with wrangled miniguns.
Yeah, well, Velocity has been a consistent team that does not run the engineer, so they try to focus the engineer when it comes to their bans. Ascent has Uncle Dane on the team. We'll be seeing, I think we'll be seeing him out here tonight, helping them out, but not being able to use your short circuit of the Wrangler is definitely going to gimp him. And that's the thing that we've kind of seen out of Uncle Dane, is sometimes he struggles to have a play style which is outside of engineer. Like if engineer's not working, he tends to not switch off the class as much as he needs to. So it'll be curious to see also, as we get the next band coming in here, Girardi and Rescue Ranger. So all 3 engineer weapons out the gate from Velocity Esports as they come into this first save.
And the Latranger, the save weapon for Velocity there. What do you think about that, sigafoo?
It's interesting. I mean, obviously they're going for protection for their spy. I'm kind of surprised that you wouldn't go Deadringer, you know, to at least give that versatility. I mean, obviously the Deadringer was nerfed, but still it does give you that, it still gives you some viability. And also, you know, with 7v7 with less players, even though it's not as powerful as it used to be, you know, you can still get a decent amount of work out of it. And I guess the Latranger does work with it as well, because that still works with the Deadringer. You can still recharge your DR by shooting people that way. So a little bit of a surprising one of all the spy weapons they can choose, that they chose that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, the change to the ammo does affect the Deadringer quite a bit, and this map's pretty tight, so maybe they're not planning on using it. But I agree, that is an interesting selection there for the save, especially because you know, they haven't had the Deadringer banned yet. You know, they haven't had the Latranger, you know, banned yet, so they would have to burn both of those bans on spy, and maybe better to just kind of save a different weapon.
Yeah, it's kind of curious Ascent's picking style. So, and also the other thing too right now is Ascent. This is their first season being inside of this, and we've seen some of their innocence when it comes to their pick bans earlier on in the season, where they banned the Darwin's Danger Shield after it was after it was like nerfed, and it's like, okay, like you're not really doing anything there. And I think it's one of these things that Ascent maybe takes a little bit too lightly when it comes to their bans, maybe not fully thinking things through. It's really important. Like, I've seen games change based off the weapons that get banned, and if you're not coming in with a game plan, I think it really hurts you. Though Nursey, the medic main, of course, is going to be saving her Crusader's crossbow.
Yeah, that's super important. Nursey's strength there is going to make a big difference. But it looks like Kritzkrieg has been banned as a follow-up, and that can be a very game-changing weapon as well for the medic on this map, and I mean the whole team.
And I guess if you're expecting the enemy team to potentially run crits as a way to kind of leapfrog ahead, take that away from them, make them have to take straight up fights against you. As the Mad Milk going down as well, against Ascent's kind of bans, just kind of going all over the place. Not necessarily wrong. Mad Milk has been a very popular ban ever since the update. Interesting that we haven't seen, in particular, the Dragon's Fury is a very powerful weapon, and we haven't seen that banned yet. So I'm wondering if we'll see that in maybe one of these last two bans. But the Razorback going down, so making sure Ascent can't get comfortable with that sniper.
Yeah, and that almost kind of teases out like an ambassador ban, but they're going to go with the Pretty Boy's pocket pistol, which is definitely viewed as an obnoxious weapon right now, given that little buff to the scout. Just regenerating health can be really obnoxious. It makes them a lot more difficult to kill if the player is effective with that, and able to spam as well from distance pretty effectively with that. So blocking that on Ashville, and especially considering that the Mad Milk is banned, you definitely would have seen a lot of the Pretty Boys pocket pistol.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I'm surprised in some ways that could have been an interesting one to save if you have confidence in your scout over the enemy scout. The other thing that's kind of interesting out of Velocity Esports banning the Razorback, which is, obviously the weapon to help out the sniper. The thing is they have the advantage in that front as Velocity Esports. So they originally had Boar starting out the season, one of the best snipers, if not the best sniper in the game, which was poached by Froyotech. So then what did Velocity Esports do? They went and poached out of Feint Gaming Red, and they took Andrew. So now they have Andrew, which is probably the second best sniper in the league. So taking away a sniper weapon from when you have probably the sniper advantage in this matchup is a little bit surprising, but I guess they also do consistently run a spy, so maybe it helps out their sniper in that way, is let your spy do work against the enemy sniper so your sniper is more comfortable. Maybe that's kind of it, because to be fair, Ascent doesn't run a spy very much. And so removing it isn't so much about your sniper as it is about making your spy more, being able to target the other sniper a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's more what it's about. Helping out, as you said, keep their sniper in check. And then that'll just help Andrew be able to dominate more, right? If he doesn't have to deal with the sniper as much.
And so this is kind of an interesting map. I don't know how much... you've played Ashville last season. With this, what did you kind of think about how it played with this format?
It's tough, we thought we were going to be better off with it because it's Koth and plays a little bit more traditional, but at the same time, the class switches and who you have to keep up and whatnot was still really difficult for us, and it's tricky. I've always had troubles on this map as well, just in Highlander, but I like that there was a little bit more room to operate around. You still have to kind of choose your side. You still kind of have to play your flanks and make sure that your flanks are staying up, getting you good information. You can switch sides which way you're attacking from, but just have to present a good, clean offense and play, smart, fundamental TF2. So it was a lot of fun on this map. I enjoy Ashville.
Yeah, Ashville is kind of one of those interesting maps, but real quickly we can just kind of go over the rosters while we're kind of on this. Right now it's looking like Jarrett, Carl, Andrew, Marmalou, Skis, Vipa, and Shamu are going to be the ones over for Velocity. And on Ascent, we haven't really had any definitives. Nursey, currently they don't have Mela right now, so our kind of expected roster is probably High Five, Yamps, Patty, Uncle Dane, Showstopper, Nursey, and Badonsky. So a lot of big names on both teams.
Yeah, for sure. But TF2 overall, and especially Prolander, really comes down to nailing that teamwork and that chemistry to make sure that everybody's in the right position, as well as everybody's playing the right class and playing their class effectively. And that can be really tough to kind of settle into the rhythm correctly in a Koth map. Obviously, Koth, you have a little bit more breathing room that you can kind of fall back and reset. It's not like a payload stopwatch where if you lose a point and then you feed a few more players in, that you actually just lose the next point and the next point. Koth, still if your team kind of breaks down a little bit and you feed some players in, at least hopefully you're still building Uber during that time and you kept the medic alive. At the worst, it's still like a second only ticks away so fast, so you still kind of have some time and some space to breathe and to work with.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy that when it comes to the Koth maps. But in kind of looking back at this, just overall in the season, we kind of talked a little bit about it. So, what was your kind of experience playing inside of RGL? What classes did you like to play? Just to kind of give people who are maybe not as familiar with the Prolander setup, like what your thoughts on it were.
Well, yeah, it was real interesting because it is you have to approach it with a different mentality than all the other formats. Where either Scout or Soldier are the ones that get to off class in 6s, or Highlander, you're completely set on a class. And definitely I played Arena Respawn, so that, gave me some flexibility and some experience with that. But, coming in, I basically was expecting that I was going to play Scout, but then as we, talked through our lineup, someone's like, oh, I'm feeling Scout, I want to play Scout tonight. I'm like, okay, cool. And then somebody's like, yeah, I'd love to play, Roaming Soldier. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then our medic's like, yeah, and I got medic. And then our demo's like, yeah, I got demo. And I'm like, cool. And then I'm like, okay, wait, what have I played tonight? And so
yeah.
It is interesting because there's definitely a couple people that have to be super flexible and have to either be ready to play Pyro or Engineer, Sniper for sure, or Spy. And so I was coming in and I was ready to play a core class, and I was like, I play a core class, but our team definitely didn't have that, and so I ended up having to play a lot of Pyro, and I don't normally touch Pyro, and that was really challenging and fun to have to just come in and approach it from the whole team perspective, but have to play this class I'm really not comfortable with. And then Sniper is something that I love, but it's also something that I didn't normally get a lot of time with. But as we wanted a Spy, then the guy that was playing Sniper is going to switch off to Spy, and then it's like, well, we still kind of need a Sniper, so it makes sense for me to switch to the Sniper. And then the guy playing Scout, switched over to either Pyro or something else, and then all of a sudden, Scout spot's open, and it makes sense for me to hop on Scout, So if you have people that are flexible, then you can play the respawn timers a little bit more with when your power classes are up and who's up and what sort of flexibility you're bringing to the table. Something that Overwatch, to talk about other games just for a hot second, something that Overwatch stresses, but a little bit more effectively pulled out with TF2 is, having to switch to different classes to counter what the other team is throwing down. And in Overwatch, it's a little bit more harder, I'm speaking as not an Overwatch player, but they're hard counters, where this person really beats this person, or you really necessarily need this class. And with TF2 and just having 9 classes, and the class limit 1, those differences are maybe sort of a little bit more apparent sometimes, as well as easier to pull off and maybe not as big of a hassle. And you can also, do things just by switching your weapons or your strategies instead of necessarily switching your class loadout. I just overall thought it was a very fun expression of TF2.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the thing that's nice about it, and that's the thing that you get kind of apart from Overwatch. I mean, but besides actually having a skill ceiling, shots fired.
Oh, yeah.
Is that, when it comes to the classes, it's not just the classes that can counter each other, but it's also the weapons that you choose. So we already saw it in the bans that, okay, Velocity knows that they want to try to win the sniper battle, so the way that you can do that is just remove the enemy sniper from potentially countering you. So they take away the Razorback, so then when they run Vipa on Spy, they're able to then win that sniper battle that way. Or last season, we saw Pyros, now that they're more of a thing, we might see teams, snipers, maybe they run Cozy Camper because of just taking away that ability to get flare punched on that side. I mean, the way that you kind of use these weapons in different ways really doesn't. I think the thing right now is just people are getting used to the ability to have that as an option. I mean, that's the biggest thing we see out of Ascent or any team that comes purely from a sixes background is they're so structured in their head. They just, because the format they play is so restrictive in the classes that you use for a majority of the game that you just tend to get really locked into how to play things.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, just to bring in somebody that was asking something from chat and build off of what you're talking about. They said, why is 7v7 a thing when you have a Highlander? And that's definitely the thing that's sort of frustrating about Highlander is where you're stuck in your lineup, you're stuck in the class that you are playing. Whereas with 7v7, like, you do have to change, you do have to have some flexibility, but it's not as crazy or not as restrictive as Highlander. Or in Overwatch.
And I kind of like that. And so it's kind of seeing this mix up, seeing it, between each round, how we want to play it. Obviously, there's some classes that we're going to see very consistently just because they're so powerful. But the nice thing is because you see more classes, some classes which, a lot of people say like, oh, Spy's the worst class in the game, but we'll still see it. Potentially 50 to 70% of the matches. And it's not because Spy is not powerful. It's because when you actually see all of the classes, Spy then suddenly becomes very powerful because Spy is the counter to a lot of the other classes in the game, such as Heavy, Sniper, Engineer, which are all viable inside of this game mode. Well, then suddenly Spy becomes viable because he's the counter to all of those classes.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because I know that when we tried some of these either lower number formats like 5v5, or just kind of talking about these things. Looks like we're going live here. Or is that just a round reset?
I think
it's just a round reset.
Round, yeah.
When talking with Banny way back in the day, his talk about Sniper is just so powerful. And Prolander, people talk about, oh, you're just always going to have a Sniper. But at least in the pregame, we look at Ascent's lineup, and they don't have a Sniper and they don't have a Spy. And it's just like, it's hard to argue because you're like, you have Yomps on heavy weapons guy, you're probably going to need a heavy weapons guy, and you have Uncle Dane on engineer, and that's pretty solid. But you can see the argument to switch to Sniper to maybe deal with DK Carl, or to whip out a Spy to deal with Vipa. So I think just the strategy is a little bit more apparent, when you just have a Highlander team and they're locked in the 9 classes, and you don't have this like, well, we have to not have 2 things. Then it's a little bit easier to just mess with the items or do these other things and not have to make that really, really tough choice of like, well, heavy is really strong right now, but what we need is this, or scout is really strong, but what we actually need right now is this. So I find that super interesting about 7v7 and a lot more engaging as a player and a spectator. So.
Yeah, that's the thing that I kind of enjoy about this is that you really do stand. That's actually where the teams tend to struggle the most, are the teams that are so stuck in the way, the classes that we chose. We saw this out of last year out of DK, now Velocity Esports, who's playing here tonight, is that they will sometimes get stuck in the classes that they want to play.
Yeah.
And like they will only run a heavy and they'll only do this and they'll only do that. But then ultimately, like when times called for them to switch it up, they're not doing it. And this is the kind of same thing as like, and I think the thing that tends to hurt Sixes players is now that they actually have to play more than 4 of the 9 classes, like that's also where they get hurt, is they're just not comfortable on them. You put somebody on Pyro, you put them on Engineer, or put them on Spy, they don't quite understand how to play it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, to be honest as well, we're at the semi-pro level, but even at the pro level, if we were at the pro level, like these guys would be like, they'd have plenty of time to double check their loadout before the game starts. But I mean, sort of we're at the level that we're at, and people not playing these classes, sometimes they switch to a class and you don't have the loadout set. You might run out with the wrong weapon and be like, oh shit, I switched to heavy and I just ran out, but all of a sudden I'm not wearing what I need to wear. There's a lot more that you just need to have ready, and I've contemplated about the overall game and the overall situation. You can't come into the game just being like, I'm playing scout and I'm only using these weapons. Or you can't come into the game being like, I'm playing scout, I'm only using these weapons, I might switch to these weapons. You're gonna have to be set with your loadouts, in case you need to switch on the fly to something real quick. And you definitely are gonna have to be ready to play different roles. Whether it's switching to engineer, getting a telly and an exit up, or running sniper. and not only holding down the lines but hitting those shots, or running spy. I know that I struggle on spy, and I know that our team, that was sort of kind of one of the issues as well. The Burnsiders in the past, that we didn't necessarily have a super good spy all the time, and that definitely kind of hurt us.
Yeah, and we'll see as it goes. We are getting readied up here, so we finally will be going live with this matchup. Week 4, Ascent versus Velocity Esports, and this is very important for Velocity Esports, as they are currently sitting at the top of the table with Froyotech right on their heels. If they are able to 4-0 this today, they'll be keeping themselves up there and putting it into next week. As we come out to this first mid-fight, we'll see Vipa actually on the Engineer class. Actually, both teams running Engineer here early on, despite all the bans, as Carl and just a lot of frags currently going in favor of Velocity right now.
Yeah, Showstopper got chewed up. Patty got headshot, and Red now has a backup. They're cornered in the back here. This choke. Budonsky goes down as well. They do get a kill on Carl, so that's a nice pickup. Blue is going to be able to take over the point, though. Oh, okay, that's flares. For a second, I thought I heard like a Uber drop, and I was like, that's not, that didn't happen.
Not quite, but speaking of Ubers, we do have Nurseys coming up to 100%.
They're deciding to go underneath. Yeah, they haven't seen him here, and they're wrapping around here. Patty comes out. The sentry gun kind of tips him off here. Nursey with a good flash over on Showstopper. Now they're going to have to back up, though. Blue has flashed the Uber. Patty floating in the air, gets thrown down, does survive. Jarrett, not quite enough damage to get the kill. Podonsky getting attacked by the scout behind. High Five is the one that goes down. Pyro is not going to survive. Patty goes down as well. Showstopper looking to come from behind, is going to run into the scout. He goes down, and Podonsky as well. So Velocity off to a fantastic start here.
Yeah, Sen, it was kind of a cheeky play they were going for, but they really needed to work on a better re-engagement. They went in, they took the fight, but the problem was they tried to take the fight from the same, like they backed up to their side and tried to re-engage, and you're just going to get shut down that way. As you get a really awkward suicide wave from Patty and High Five. Not really sure what they're going for, because they just got shut down so quickly. Also, we are seeing High Five using the Dragon's Fury on Pyro, so... we'll see how that works out here, as that was not banned early on, as all weapons are available, and none of the Pyro update weapons were taken away, as looks like we're seeing Ascent start to push up from this balcony side.
Yeah, Jarrett does have a pretty good lock on things, though, and oh, actually, here's the Uber charge coming in. Patty getting the kill on Jarrett as he was trying to heal back up. Uber charge is popped on the other side. That'll just really serve to keep Carl shiny for a little bit. Carl's going to try to poke around the corner here, but I think he's going to go down. He doesn't have his medic with him, and actually, I am terribly wrong. He stays alive and gets the kill on the heavy at first. Now kill to the Demo Man, but Samurai Shamui fighting down here, trying to kill Uncle Dane, and jumping forward, continuing to pressure, and ends up getting Nursey. And continuing that fight, does get Uncle Dane before Podonsky gets the kill, but that was huge work down there. Skis also picking up a kill somewhere in the midst of all that. 2 minutes off the clock for Velocity. They might give this point up, but they are going to come out and fight, trying to hold on to it. Scout gets piped down by Jarrett. Demo Man underneath the point. Blue holds it for now. Yomps getting pressured. He's trying to work into the corner here, getting pushed away. Carl working around the boxes. Good pressure on Uncle Dane.
I gotta be careful, though. Podonsky is gonna get caught out from Carl. Carl, he knows these angles. He's played this map many a times. So he goes down to half HP. You're almost there to catch Podonsky out. But they have still not captured this. Is a couple frags going out in the favor right now for Velocity, as they're trying to get across the point. They're only down one right now. They also have a teleporter up from Uncle Dane to get him forward. Nursey is dancing for her life at 70 HP, somehow able to get out. As they get a lot of capture time, they should be able to re-push back onto this with 17 seconds left on the clock. We're seeing Podonsky trying to spam out the enemy team. Skeets gets a little bit caught out there. As Vipa coming in here, using the diamond back, not able to secure a kill, as the frags are still coming out for Velocity. They pick up the point, but now with the long respawns, Velocity should be easily able to retake this.
Yeah, that should be no big deal here. And this is looking like it's going to be a fantastic first round for Velocity. Ascent, as you mentioned, Nursey doing a good job backing out, but just wasn't able to string things together. Velocity really stranglehold on that opening offense, getting the point, holding on to it, getting the capture. Vipa going spy definitely was a nice distraction there.
Yeah, and I would like to see maybe that, I mean, this is the thing I've said, is like, when the Uncle Dane runs Engineer, I think it's okay when the team is up, but when they're struggling from behind, Engineer can be a hard class to be able to use to push in. And when you're playing up against a team with Andrew, having a spy might be worth it, even if you're not great at it. If you just focus him down, that might help you out, because he does just that. early on, taking down Nursey. And this is pretty much all but secured the point for Velocity, unless a miracle happens, as Showstopper is going completely behind the team. I don't think anybody spotted him. Viper does call him out, and he does pick up one frag, but Skis is going to keep himself alive, but not too bad of a fight coming out of Ascent, at least to hold him off for a little bit.
Yeah, they're trying to get the capture here. Yomps still fighting it out. Shamu is going to come out here, is able to get the kill. Viper got a nice forward minigun, actually not facing the spawn, facing the point from underneath that ledge. That's interesting. They're going to get the capture there, and yeah, the engineer at the beginning of the round is a great thing to run, because you're obviously going to get your exit rolling, which actually he's landing at now. Just get a good start on things, but Viper probably going to switch off if things go sour and he gives up his life. If it doesn't feel like the defense is going to hold. Right now, offense is pushing in. Ascent have lost a few players, but they pick up Jarrett and Andrew. They're getting Yomps on the point. He's starting to take some damage. Under half health. Is going to be able to get away and survive. Arrowed up by Nursey as well. Carl is going to round the corner. Coming out, guns down Yomps. Ubercharge is used as well. Probably could have saved that in all honesty, but it'll be all right. Nursey's got hers coming up. And Carl's going to come in. It makes him use it real early. Uncle Dane's got something with him. He's going to try to carry it out here and get it down on the ground. Just a mini sentry, though.
Yeah, not going to really help out his team too much. Minis can do work, dealing a little bit of damage onto Shamu, who's going all the way behind.
Yeah.
Finally gets taken out there. He's going to get put onto a 17-second respawn wave. As you control the point, you get much longer respawns than the enemy team, which is why teleports can be useful. The other big thing is we have not seen a sniper yet out of Ascent. Which, I mean, this is not a great sniper map, but they don't even have a pick class at all. Anybody to deal with Andrew. He is sniping completely uncontested right now. And so far, it's been working in Velocity's favor. As you see, Ascent trying to push across one. Here comes out the Dragonfear, taking down the Demo Man early on. As Showstopper going up top, taking one more. As, oh no, with the medic went down. Nursey got taken out there in that exchange. And Bodonsky's going to try to push forward alone as Hi-Fi behind the scenes. Trying to take a 1v1 against Shamu, but unfortunately for him, he's got Skis backing him up. And Ascent, once again, just struggle to find their footing in these fights. And Nursey getting taken out early on.
Yeah, part of the situation as well is they got some frags and stuff, but all the frags that they got were away from the point, you know, so they're never really contesting the point. And now we have an Ubercharge ready to go from Skis. Not even forced to use it on Carl. It's just going to let him chill and then crit heals build up and then get back to him. And they're pushing Red back too as well. Ascent picks up a Ubersaw on Samurai Shamu. That's going to help them get into the fight again, get confident here. The Pyro jumping up top. Skis does use it in time though. Was, I think, switching to arrows, but got it off. Jarrett pushing forward is going to throw those rollers down, but doesn't get a lot of work done. Velocity has still just been holding on to the point though, so it's like no problem. Getting so much done here.
And Patty getting that Ubercharge onto him. He's going to use all of it on the heavy. Doesn't even kill Carl, despite being at point-blank range, despite being invulnerable. I would have probably gone for Skis in that exchange, rather take down the heals rather than the damage. It'll help you out a little bit more. As Viper, the engineer, picks up one more frag on the side, and Ascent is going to get baggled here, not even pick up 1 second off the clock. More than likely, Velocity looking very comfortable holding on to this point. Ascent trying to push back, but no. Carl on a 7K cleans up. And this is looking very good for Velocity. And again, Ascent, they might not even make playoffs as we get into the first half here.
Yeah, that was some pretty brutal stuff. And again, it's like objective, as well as we see High Five switches over to Sniper in the pregame. I was going to say, or halftime rather, but I was going to say countering Andrew is definitely an important thing. You pointed out that one push, and you know, right before that, and so I really was keeping a close eye on Andrew. And honestly, in that push, he didn't really do much. He didn't really hit as many shots as he could have. But the fact that he just got so many shots without being harassed was really like, I know that he was hitting shots in other circumstances. And so every time you hear that rifle go off, it's just like a cringe of like, oh my God, he's had to have just killed somebody. Like I said, that little section, he ended up not, but now they've decided, okay, we do have to counter him, and High Five going Sniper is going to be the route that they are attempting to get this rolling.
Other big note from that last round, Carl top frag was 16.
Oh, wow.
Heavy and Sniper were the top two fraggers for Velocity, which are countered by Sniper or Spy. Any pick class would do. to try to help those out, but anything would do but just, you know, not dying. Podolsky, Showstopper going in really early on in the fight. High Five goes down, 4 players down as Velocity has everybody alive and actually at good HP on top of that. As Shamu taking a 1v1 fight against Uncle Dane, he should go down here. Yes, he does, trying to retreat. And Ascent, I'm not really sure what that mid fight was. It looked like they wanted to go for a big bomb in, but you got to play this a little bit careful because if the enemy team has a heavy that's revved up, especially nowadays when you can pre-rev up, it's going to hurt you as Velocity comes down with the fight here early on, but Uber charges out. Skis only 99%.
Wow, I just got it though. And this is going to work out really good for Velocity Gaming as Ascent in retreat. And Yomps has gone down, High Five down as well. Showstopper very banged up, got the health pack though, so now he's trying to get back in here. But Vipa on top of the shed, and Showstopper has to back up. Marmaloo laying ambush to Uncle Dane, and dunks all over him. Can't get that health pack to keep his rampage going. Nursey wants to poke back out, or at least do something, but they're just stuck with 30%. The clock's just going to keep ticking away, and this is the problem. They're not really making enough of an impact, and then they're just stuck, and they just got to wait it out and let the clock tick away.
The other big thing is Skis didn't die a single time last round. They needed to have better suicide waves. They need to do something to try to leapfrog. Here comes Showstopper, but he comes in alone. Like, this is the problem that we've seen with Ascent all season, is you would think that the Sixes players, they would have better coordination, but they're probably one of the worst coordinated teams I've seen in the league, where it's like all you literally need to do is go in at the same time, get the force off, and then leapfrog them in that Uber charge advantage.
And it's like, you know, you need to have players that are playing around the medic so that you can still throw forward your demo man, your soldier, and your scout. It can't really just be the heavy weapons guy. That's also sort of where it's just kind of an auxiliary issue, but it's still tied into it, and it's just that Uncle Dan is really predictable. We'll talk about it more, but the Uber charges are out here, and Uncle Dan trying to get the mini sentry on the point. Demo Man gets pushed back by it a little bit, so honestly it was probably helpful to Velocity to get that extra little push. And Uncle Dan going down as he's trying to come up on point. Yomps is here, but we're just going to let Yomps run away, and well, Yomps not going to eat any food down there or that health pack. He's trying to get re-involved here. Gets an arrow across, so that's going to help him get back in. They do get Carl. This is getting better for Ascent. They need to get more time on the point. Right now, they're still just barely scratching the surface of it. And they're losing players as well. Badonsky, very low, 20 health. He's standing still for an arrow, but the bomb is in, and Nursey is chased back. Badonsky's still very low health. He's going to escape, but the point not captured. Patty with the big shots, taking down Skis and Jarrett before getting SMG down by Andrew. Andrew going down low is going to get the health back. Going to wrap up top and able to escape away. And the point remains in control of Velocity Gaming.
Marmaloo on the backside, chasing. Finally did take down Nursey. So despite Skis going down for the first time this game, Nursey went down at the same time. And ultimately, whatever advantage they could have got out of that situation is gone. The points being ticked down. And currently, there is 2 players with 0 points. Not like, you can get points in a multitude of ways. They have 0 points. They haven't even done enough damage to get a point in this situation.
Yeah, and so that's what I want to say about Uncle Dan real quick before we get into this mid. It's just like, you just know he's running engineer. So you see the pyro, then you know there's no sniper. If you see a sniper, then you know there's no pyro and there's no spy. You know, it's just so predictable. I think it really does limit your options. If he was to run spy and get 1 frag on a mid fight and trade, then all of a sudden it's a whole different mid fight, and then he can go to engineer. They have control of the point. It's a different game. But if you just keep losing the point and getting destroyed down low, and Uncle Dane just now getting a sentry gun up, so what are you going to do with that? Your whole team is already dead. So he's got a teleporter entrance up. He doesn't even have an exit. Like, what did you accomplish? He got 1 point. He got 1 point.
Yep, it's really one of these things where it's like, you know, especially as an engineer main, you know, you put up an exit right away, especially in Koth maps, because that's how you win Koth maps, is teleports. Because it's all about using your respawn advantage to your favor. And if you don't have a teleport up, you're really not doing much for your team, especially when you can't get, you know, mini sentries to be able to do much more. Here we go. Looks like we're going to try to see a suicide wave in, but it got blocked by the upper area as Patty's getting some time on a point. High Five is using the detonator to try to get some fire onto the enemy team. They're doing a lot of good job at pressuring this, but the overcharge, it has full advantage as Shamu's just a missile going straight at Nursey, taking her down. Gonna see if he can pick up any more. but they can just play around heroes. Actually, no, they can't because they lost so many players in the exchange. Both teams did, but Marmalou is still alive on the point spamming. Skis is alone. He wants to try to connect back up with somebody. Is Marmalou going to take this 1v1 against Uncle Dane? I guess Marmalou wasn't called out. He picks up one. Can he get another one? 1v1 against Badonsky. He's going to have like 1 HP. Gets healed back up, and what should have been a point for Ascent, despite losing their medic, is going to be really just... I mean, when's the last time they captured the point? The first round?
It's been rough. Yeah, it's been rough. And that was looking a lot better for them from the onset, and they're just like spam damage over the top, which they're trying to continue to pile some in there, but Badonsky's still struggling. Gets headshot down by Andrew, and, you know, that's the thing. It's like working from concrete here. It's just... He's just so set up. It's just really hard. You have to bomb a soldier or your demo, really commit to it. And they've just been locking things down. And especially with this format, you know, it's not Highlander, it's not sixes. So you don't have a second soldier, you don't have a second scout, you don't always have a sniper, you don't always have a spy. So in this situation, Andrew being a dominant sniper, they have to have a plan to counter him. And they basically gave up. They were like, they ran sniper for a hot second, and they're like, oh, that's not working. Let's just go back to losing, like we were losing before, you know? Like,
I mean, Marmalou has also been doing a good job. He's actually currently top fragging in server as we do get the Uber charged out here. But once again, Ascent has yet to use an Uber charge at an advantage. Every single time they use it, it's always allowing Velocity to get that second pop in. As currently, Velocity is just surrounding Ascent. That's the big thing I would love to see Ascent do more. Is just spread out their team, try to take space in different areas, and Nursey might get caught out here.
Yeah, looks like a flank is going down there, waiting for... Oh, great pick from Marmalou, getting Nursey there. So yeah, it's tough because also in that situation, they got stuck on the entrance to lower, and so then it's just like, well, your combo's there. They can just frag everybody else while you just stand there and heal the heavy, and then they come back to you, and they had to retreat after that, and then Nursey went down. So they're not having the best long extended fights, and that's also the thing with Uncle Dane, which I don't want to harp on him too hard, and it's just not going so well, but he still doesn't have a teleporter exit up, and it's like if you're just going to run 24/7 engineer, then piling waves of people in has to be part of your strategy, so you need to have a teleporter exit up, and they're just getting rocked and rocked and rocked right now.
Yeah, and there you go. I think that was 3 bagels in a row. 0 time taken off the clock in the favor of Ascent. I mean, and that's the thing too, is like we saw Viper running Engineer almost full time, but the only time we saw him off of Engineer was when Velocity didn't control the point.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He switched to try to help his team to try to push because spies can open up picks to be able to let your team push, and also just makes the other team have to look for you. This map is a little bit spread out, so usually you can catch someone alone. You know, just anything to help out your team. And right now, Ascent is in 4th place, sitting with 3 points, with Generations right behind them at 1.5. They're going to play. So Ascent is going to play Generations in the final week, and that is going to decide who gets that 4th place spot. Ascent very well will not make playoffs. They will not get it into the money. When you talk about an ESA invite team, and they're struggling here this badly, so consistently against almost every team in the division, I mean, I think that's kind of surprising.
Yeah, no, it's definitely surprising. I mean, especially considering their roster, the talent that they have. Nursey with a Highlander background as well, and this format and the tempo of it definitely, you know, resembles Highlander a little bit more than sixes. I think that's less true of a statement when it comes to the Koth maps, but at the same time, you know, you have to like win your fights in a different way, and they were just kind of chasing these fights in different ways and in different places, and they weren't fighting over the point, and they weren't ever capturing the point. You need to have these players that are getting on the point and are contributing to the team. And so when they're winning a fight, or they're mostly winning a fight, and then Uncle Dane is either fighting someone else or is back somewhere else, or High Five is like fighting on the flank or is somewhere else, and like nobody's capturing the point, and then you just end up like eventually losing your players, and you never got any time on the point, you never capture the point. It's like, I mean, there's an objective here, and you're not playing the objective at that point. You're just trying to do other stuff, and you're going to lose. And obviously there was some other aspects of like the frags and cohesion. I definitely think Uncle Dane never switching off engineer was a tough one. Especially just when you're behind, you have to bring something else.
Well, that's just is like that's the thing I've seen out of Ascent and out of the losing teams. It's like the difference between winning and losing teams inside of Prolander is one thing: the ability to be dynamic. If you can't be dynamic, you're not going to win games. Like unless you're just so good that you can just out DM the other team regardless of the classes you're on, which is something we've seen like out of Froyotech, where they don't put necessarily a lot of strategy into what they do. They just hope that they can out DM you. But if once a team is able to match them or outsmart them, they're going to be really struggling because they don't switch as much, but they will at least have that conversation. And we have seen Froyotech, switch it up from time to time, the classes that they choose, particularly Eric, who plays really big into their flex role. He'll go engineer, he'll go he'll go engineer, he'll go pyro, he'll go spy. He mixes up. He doesn't play a spy a lot, but it's exactly what you were talking about earlier in the match, where it's like just going spy a little bit, a little bit will make the other team just like, they'll never expect it. That's how you can catch them off. It's like, even if you don't use it exclusively, even if you just run it like 10% of the time, you still will get picks out of it because people won't be expecting it. And another big thing too is Ascent, they seem to be constantly either playing 1v1s like in bad situations, or they're playing way too close to each other and it's just way too easy to spam them out. And the big thing is we saw Velocity consistently in fights, they're playing multiple angles at the same time. They had people on the flank. And so you couldn't just take a fight in one area, whereas Ascent, when they're trying to push in, they're all pushing in from the same angle, which again, they don't have pick classes to open up the fight. They can't get that opening frag from a spy or sniper because they never ran them. And then and they don't have teleporters to help when they have long fights to get people back in using the respawn advantage. Like there's just so many things wrong with Ascent. And this is something we've seen all season, and I really do not believe they're going to make playoffs. Just like from what I've seen this season, I think Generations is a better team, and I think they are going to lose next week. But we'll see what happens. We can just take a quick look at the logs here as we wrap it up for the night. In that second half, Marmaloo top fragging for his team at 16 frags, but the other big thing is the highest frag for Ascent was 6, which is less than 6 out of the pretty much everybody else inside of Velocity. So just really just shows how little action was done. Even look at Patty or Showstopper. Badonsky. These are players you would think would do well, but they have the combined total is what 2, 2, and 3. So 7 frags total between the 3 players I just listed. Yeah. Patty, Showstopper, and Badonsky combined for 7 frags. That is insane how bad that is. Yeah,
and Badonsky did a lot better in the first half. He actually was the top damage dealer with 581 per minute and had 10 frags. Definitely the highest on his team by almost twice as much. And I think there was a fairly significant difference in how Ascent was playing with Yomps and Badonsky versus how Velocity was playing with Jarrett and Carl. And I think that tells you a lot about the team's experience playing with heavy overall. I know that Nursey, as I mentioned, has her Highlander roots, but Badonsky and Yomps maybe not quite as familiar with the whole exchange. But it seemed like Carl was kind of the gas pedal, being healed and then kind of stepping forward and advancing the line, doing trench warfare, while Jarrett was just kind of plugging away at the back. In the first half, Jarrett got 532 damage. In the second half, Jarrett had 676. So he was doing huge work in the second half. Let's see, actually, let me look up. I'm curious what then the heals percentages show. So actually, heals percentage wise, there was a little bit more of the heals were devoted to just Jarrett and Carl. On the side of Velocity, which sort of backs up my thesis here. That Yomps, was kind of staying back, and they were trying to push forward with Badonsky and with the heals on Badonsky. So Badonsky would go out, he would get some work done, maybe even get some frags, but then he'd get so far forward that then they would get separated from Yomps, or Yomps would be behind the fight and wouldn't be able to contribute. And then they would just get like stretched out and taken apart. But if you're leading with your heavy a little bit more, and then the demo man is chipping away from the back, your demo man is safer, and your heavy will have a safer kind of ability to just be like, oh, do I want this fight or do I not want this fight? And if they want the fight, then you're gonna like win the fight, because that's how it works with heavy weapons guy, right? So that's why Carl like went huge in the first half with 16 kills.
Yeah, it's just overall, I mean, just Velocity really clinical in their play style, played around each other, mixed up their classes as they needed to. And then, it just shows like what happens when you have like a world-class heavy like Carl, who's fantastic, and he understands how to play it, understands how to take around bombers. And that's the biggest thing is I mean, the coordination out of Ascent was really poor when it came to the bombs, but then also having Carl on heavy, looking for those bombs, understanding when to look for those bombs, and then having that buff to heavy, making him even more powerful, is just going to help him out that much more. But I think that is probably enough to be said on the stomping that we just saw there. And again, it's Ascent. They're right on the cusp. They might not make it into playoffs. Next week, we'll try to get coverage of that match, as we have two major matches going on: Velocity Esports versus Fryotech. That's going to decide who goes into first place. And then it'll be, depending on how matches work out this week, DPM, Generations, and Ascent, those three teams all still have a chance at getting into that fourth spot. So the race to get into the playoffs is viable for every team in the league. Very exciting, as we're going to try to cover all the matches. And guys, tomorrow we're going to be covering more matches. On Wednesday, we'll be doing Faint Gaming Red versus Fryotech on this very same map. So make sure you tune into that. eXtine, any final words you want to shout? Any shouts you want to give?
Well, it's just it's been a pleasure being here. I want to make sure that people follow us on the XTV Esports YouTube, which is maybe the COMMFT or X Television. That's where these VODs will be, the future RGL VODs, maybe a touch of Dota content, and updates about the Portland Burnsiders. We got some fun stuff in the works. We're trying to put together a charity event in December. I'm looking forward to Rewind 2 in the LA area coming up in February. And we just launched a new logo for the Burnsiders too, so we'll probably do some merchandise, a little fundraising campaign to help us get to Rewind 2. And it was really exciting to see the 77 Prolander here, and hopefully I'll be able to cast some more with you guys coming up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, eXtine, for joining me out here. It was a lot of fun to have you back here.
Definitely.
And of course, Nisel, always behind the scenes, doing such a fantastic job. He'll be tomorrow, Wednesday, doing that cast. Thank you, everybody, for viewing with us. And make sure you tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, as we'll do another match, Fryotech versus Faint Gaming Red. Should be a great one. But either way, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me out here tonight. And I'll see you next time.